All right. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We are back. We're going to go ahead and get started here. We are continuing on with the Torah portion. This week we are in Deuteronomy 28. We're going to look at this chapter and see what we can find inside of this chapter and see how it relates to us today in 2019. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to pull up the portion here. And we'll read, let's see what we'll start off reading probably. Let me see.
Are we in 28?
28, yeah. We want to just start off and read, let's see. We're going to just start off with, 14 verses. We'll read the first 14 verses. We'll go over that and then we'll continue from there.
1 through 14.
Yeah, 1 through 14, yeah.
And it shall be, if you diligently obey the voice of Yah your Elohim, to guard to do all his commands which I command you today, that Yah your Elohim shall set you high above all nations of the earth, and all these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you, if you obey the voice of Yah your Elohim. Blessed are you in the city, and blessed are you in the field. Blessed is the fruit of your body, and the fruit of your ground, and the fruit of your livestock, the increase of your cattle, and the offspring of your flock. Blessed is your basket and your kneading bowl. Blessed are you when you come in, and blessed are you when you go out. Yah causes your enemies who rise against you to be smitten before your face. They come out against you one way and flee before you 7 ways. Yah commands the blessing on you in your storehouses, and in all to which you set your hand, and shall bless you in the land which Yah your Elohim is giving you. Yah does establish you as a set-apart people to himself, as he has sworn to you, if you guard the commandments of Yah your Elohim and walk in his ways. And all people of the earth shall see that the name of Yah is called upon you, and they shall be afraid of you. And Yah shall make you to have plenty of what is good, in the fruit of your body, in the fruit of your livestock, and in the fruit of your ground, in the land which Yah swore to your fathers to give you. Yah opens you to his good treasures, the heavens, to give the rain to your land in its season, and to bless all the work of your hand. And you shall lend to many nations, but you do not borrow. And Yah shall make you the head and not the tail. And you shall be only on top and not beneath. If you obey the commands of Yah, your Elohim, which I command you today, to guard and do not turn aside from any of the words which I command in you today, right or left, to go after other mighty ones to serve them.
Okay. All right. So, hold on a second. Okay, so we see over here in Deuteronomy 28, where the Most High through Moses is dealing with, again, we look at Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy kind of is Moses speaking to Israel, giving them kind of his final instructions before he hands the baton over to Joshua, and they go over into the land. Moshe at this time knows he's not going in. He's giving them these last final instructions before they go ahead and cross over into the land. So we see here where it begins. Let's look at a couple of these things here. familiar terminology for some. And let's see, we look over here, Deuteronomy 28, verse 1. Let me switch this over to where we can look at some of these words here. Okay, so King James says, "It shall come to pass if thou shalt hearken diligently." Notice that this, when we see this in the Hebrew, it's two words here, two words that are the same, right? In English, it says hearken diligently, right? But it's only just giving you one word, which is Shema. To hear, Shema is to hear with obedience, right? We talked about this many times. We understand the word Shema to be not only you audibly hearing sounds and them things, the sound causing your eardrums to reverberate, and translate into words and things in your mind, but there be action attached to the sound that you hear, right? So it's giving you that idea here, but in the Hebrew, there's not words like very. I get caught up with this every time. Very, is that like a adverb or something? What is that in grammar? Very. If something's very good, like I think it's an adverb.
It had to be an adverb because it's describing something,
Hiskey's saying it's an adjective.
It's an adjective, His?
No, adjective is would be like a color though, right? But an adverb is something that adds to the verb. I could be just making that up.
Add describes anything, so it doesn't just the color.
Okay, so anyway, in the Hebrew, we don't have that. There's no such thing as very, right? So if it wants to kind of intensify the word that is dealing with, it's just going to double up on it. So that's what we're seeing right there. It says, where it's literally saying, "It shall come to pass if thou shalt Shema unto my voice." Right? So it's kind of strengthening the word, adding weight to this thing. But in the English is, spelling out for us to diligently obey, to not just obey, but diligently obey. Right? But not only that, but to observe. So you're diligently obeying, you're shemaing unto the voice of the Almighty, and to observe and do all of his commandments. Observe is that word shamar, which is to guard, to hedge around, as with thorns. If you're trying to protect something, you're going to put a fence around it to protect it, to keep things from coming in, to keep things that you want inside from getting out. And we think about this when we think about the commandments of Yahweh. We want to be sure that we're able to follow and walk in his will and in his ways. And we're going to do those things that which protect outside influences, from the outside. And we're going to do things on the inside also to be sure that we're walking the way that we should be. So he's saying, if you do all of those things, right, you're diligent, you diligently obey my voice, right, and you be careful to do all these commandments that I'm saying to you this day. He said that the Most High will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. Right. So first of all, when we look at this verse, this chapter really is dealing in a national sense, Israel as a whole. These things can be applied to individuals. Individually speaking, you walk in his ways, you're going to receive blessings. Right. We know that, we can take this and look at it from an individual standpoint. But here is dealing with the nation. Right, the whole nation as a whole, not just parts and pieces of the whole, but the whole nation, right? So it says, verse 2, And all these blessings, the things that he went through from 3 down to 14 shall come on you and overtake you. So let's deal with this first. This whole idea of overtaking. To reach, able, let's see, attain, to get, lay at, to remove, take hold of or on, take hold on or take hold upon. What? Let me see this. Let's see this in the word study here. What's that say? Verb meaning overtake, to reach, to get. It often means to overtake or to catch up to someone, as if, you know, somebody's running in a race and somebody comes from behind and overtakes you, get flagged, right? From behind. That thing's overtaking you, right? It's used figuratively as age of years attaining to a certain level, or of joy and rejoicing, arriving, or becoming a reality. So when we think about this idea of being overtaken with blessings, these blessings, these things that the Most High is pouring out on you, they're coming upon you, they're overtaking you, they're catching up with you and enveloping you. Right? So let's look at these things here. What is this? What is this blessing? Barakah. Barakah, blessing, prosperity, blessing, present. The general idea of this word is one of good favor bestowed on another. This may be expressed in the giving of a tangible gift. I wanted to, let me see if I'm able to get my little thing so I could draw these. Because when we look at this we could get I think another kind of understanding of this if we look at this in the ancient. Let's see here. Let me pull that up there. Look, this is the last time I was drawing. It's still here. Okay, let's get rid of this. Where is my oh, there we go. Okay, so when we look at this word for bless, the root of that is, let me put it on the pen. The root of that is a bait.
Well, you got some skills on
It looks like this. Bait. A resh. This. And a kaf. 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 Looks like this. It's hard to do this on this little. Okay, so if we look at this in the ancient is it's the tent plan. That's a bait. This is the same thing as this. The resh is a man's head. The man's head. Oh, this is terrible. I was trying to get it set up over here so I could do it with my pen. Mm-hmm. It's hard to keep your finger down on this thing here. All right, so let me get this man's head together here. Get a little nose and a little neck. Oh, that's crazy looking. Looks like a duck, man. Get his little afro. Wow. And the kaf is this is the palm. It's an open palm. So it's kind of like this here. Okay, so when we think about this word bless, barak, barakah is blessings, or barak, which is to bless. When we see this in the ancient Hebrew, we can see the thing that it gives you is this palm being open, this palm being this open palm. So it has the idea of presenting something, to the man. And also this here is again a plan, or kind of a foundation or a plan. So when we look at this, it's this gift. It's this gift that's being presented to the man that builds the house, right? The plan is like the blueprints of the house, the things that's necessary to build it, right? So you're receiving this gift. You're receiving this gift. The man is receiving this gift that builds the house. And also when we think about this kaf, the idea of bending is incorporated. And we think about the fact that the Most High we're receiving these things from the Almighty. We're receiving these things from the Almighty. So we can think about the Most High, how he bends down in order to even deal with us, right? From on high, he's coming down from the heavenlies and interacting with us where we are and providing us with those things which are necessary for us to thrive and succeed in life. And we notice when we read these verses in there, is dealing with real tangible things, right? When it's going through these blessings, right? It's not like rainbows and these things. It's things that
Heavenly, it's not
fantasy world. Yeah, it's real life stuff that we need to happen, that's good for us, right? Okay, so let me get rid of this here. Wait.
You got some skills on that thing, man. I can imagine you up there with the marker.
Yeah, I can. It's easier. It's easier with a marker than
what
with
program is that gives you the translation?
this.
Yeah,
This is Eastward.
Eastward.
If you want to study your scriptures on a computer, Eastward is free.
yeah.
They got all kind. Well, you can add stuff to it for money, but for me, it's worth it. You can get all kind of different versions, translations. You could get this, with the Strongs, that breaks all the words down.
Right.
Eastward is the best as far as I'm concerned. There's ones you could pay thousands of dollars and get basically the same thing you get from Eastward for free. Yeah, if them people call me up and said, "Would you do a commercial for Eastward?" I'll be like, "Yeah, I'll do it for free."
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So, when we look at these blessings that the Most High is giving, right? That he say he will overtake you with, right? It's kind of an all-encompassing kind of thing. Every aspect of life will be blessed in the city, in the field. If you're urban, that's going to be blessed. If you're rural, that's going to be blessed. Whatever your life is over in the concrete, they probably had concrete, but their city was probably different than our city, right? but there was you had like a big collection of people in a spot, and then you got to spread out, right? Either way, in the city, in the field, bless. The fruit of your body, bless. The fruit of thy just babies, just coming, right? It's a blessing, right? So the seed of your body, the fruit in the ground, right? You put something in the ground, that thing gonna grow. You got your cattle and your flocks and all that things. Those things are going to flourish, right? Your basket in your store, you're gonna be able to fill your basket up. You're gonna be able to store your storehouse is gonna be blessed, right? All of these things, right? 6 when you come in and when you go out, it's giving you every step, every aspect of your life is blessed. Blessings is overtaking you. Again, we could look at this from an individual standpoint and apply it to you as an individual, but here it's dealing with the whole nation, right? It's dealing with the whole nation. When the people as a nation are functioning in the way that the Most High will have for them to do, all of this stuff is coming on you. Your enemies rise up against you, they're smitten before thy face. They come out one way, all of them come out one way, they scattering out in 7 ways. Right? So it gives you all of this, and it's interesting when we look at this as we go forward. We see where it's hitting on all of these aspects, all these different things is giving you more details in some areas, but it's basically dealing with your entire reality. Everything that could be is blessed.
Right. Basically, whatever you put your hand to, blessed.
Is blessed, right? Every aspect. Now, okay, so if we keep on going, okay, so before we get into the curses, anybody have any thoughts or questions or comments?
So now, if someone knew this, right?
Yeah.
If you had somebody who knew that if you kept, like if this people, which y'all was talking to, if they kept his commandments, that they would be blessed. Wouldn't they try everything to make them break their commandments?
Hold on, say that again.
So, if an enemy of this people,
okay,
that they would be blessed if they kept the covenant, wouldn't they try everything to get them not to keep the covenant?
Well, that's what they did, right? That's what happened. We could look back in Numbers, right? When with Balaam, whenever he tried it. I'm gonna go in, these people paying me, I'm gonna go over here and try to curse this nation. But it was impossible. The only way they was able to do it was to get the people to fall where curses could fall on them as a result of what they did. But they wasn't able to curse the people. They was only able to draw the people away from the Almighty, away from his commandments, where now curses is overtaking them.
So basically, that is saying that the only way this nation falls is if they fall away from the commandments.
That's what I see. Yeah, that's what I see.
Did you say about Balaam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing. So you got this. That is what this. When you look at the blessings, that's them coming against them. They tried. The commentator. Well, it seems like he goes to curse. When he opens up his mouth, blessings come out. Right? So he's trying to fulfill what these people hired him to do, but the Most High don't allow that to happen. The only way that he becomes successful is when they start introducing the foreign women into the situation and cause the people to fall
Start serving other,
you know, from within.
start serving
So they going into these other gods and dealing with these strange women, and then now they not keeping these commandments, right? That's a Numbers late 20s maybe. Let's see.
You remember the story about the wasn't he the same prophet who the donkey was talking to?
Yeah, so if you was to look at Numbers chapter 22 probably through 25, 22 to 25 is going to give you that whole scenario there of Balaam and Balak.
So is it safe to say that people are being paid even to this day to make sure that we break the commandments?
I believe so. The way they put pork in every daggone thing.
Well,
I used to love.
It's hard. I think it's hard to say. But again, remember now, when you're walking in his ways, it don't matter that people's coming against you, right? So at the end of the day, it's on you to remain no matter who's coming against you. Right. So we could look at the adversaries. We could look at them, but if we're walking in his ways, they coming in one way and going out 7 ways, right?
Don't look at what your enemy's trying to do.
They got to be internal. Right. You got to look at yourself, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's see here. Where we at? So let us now, let's go down to 15. Let's go down to 15. Let's see where we want to read to. Let's read from 15. I don't want to go through all of these all at once.
No, go ahead. I just wrote that one down.
I'm gonna tell you where the let's see. We want to read from 15. I'll stop you when you get to where I want you to stop at. Just start reading at 15.
And it shall be, if you do not obey the voice of Yah your Elohim to guard to do all his commands and his laws which I command you today, that all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. Cursed are you in the city, and cursed are you in the field. Cursed is your baskets and your kneading bowl. Cursed is the fruit of your body and the fruit of your land, the increase of your cattle and the offsprings of your flock. Cursed are you when you come in, and cursed are you when you go out. Yah sends on you the curse, the confusion, and the rebuke in all that you set your hand to do, until you are destroyed, until you perish quickly, because of the evil of your doings by which you have forsaken me.
Okay, let's just deal with that right there, right? So when we starting off there, it begins to go into some of the kind of the opposite side of what we saw on the other one, right?
Right.
It talks about the blessings. Really, when it gets into the curses, it's going to basically cancel all of the blessings that right. was the same ones that the same way you was blessed, you're gonna be cursing that same way. But the interesting thing here is that even though when we looked at those first 14 verses and it seemed like it was kind of this all-encompassing thing, the curse is going to go now throughout the rest of these 68 verses of this chapter.
Right.
So it's like extended.
Yeah. Right. So he gives us the first 14 verses of this chapter where it's dealing with the blessings, which it kind of covers all aspects of life. But when you don't do the things that the Most High calls for you to do, when you don't walk in his will and guard to do all his commandments, the cursed side is, it seems, is worse than the blessed side is good, if that makes any sense.
It's 54 verses of cursing, 14 compared to 14 blessings.
Right. So it the race, I don't know what that is as far as ratio is concerned, but it's not good, right?
No.
But when we think about let's see where it says, and this is what we got to remember. When we look at let's see here. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 5 says, thou shalt also consider in thine heart that as a man chastens his son, so Yahweh thy Elohim chastens you. Therefore thou shalt keep the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim, to walk in his ways and to fear him. Right? The Most High is not worried about people who aren't his son. Right? These things is coming on Israel. These things is coming on Israel because of the fact that he wants for Israel. Israel is his set apart nation, his firstborn, he says, right? So he created this people to be a certain way. And when we fall away, he's bringing these curses on us, not so that we can be destroyed, but so that we could eventually come back and turn back to him. It's chastisement. It's not for us to be destroyed. Although when we look at this chapter and how it relates to Leviticus 26, when we look at Leviticus 26, there's also a chapter that gives us blessings and curses. But the difference is that there's kind of like there's light at the end of the tunnel. I think it's Leviticus 26. Let me see if I'm right. I'm just making this up. Oh, that's because I'm looking at numbers and saying Leviticus. It is Leviticus. But I need to actually turn to it. Right? Leviticus 20. Yeah. Leviticus 26 also is giving you these blessings and these curses. But the difference is that we'll see as we go on. And it even mentioned, if you remember back in, let's see, verse, we read verse 20. We read in verse 20 of Deuteronomy 28, verse 20, Yahweh sends you the curse, the confusion, and the rebuke, and all that you set your hand to do until you are destroyed and until you perish quickly because of the evil of your doings by which you have forsaken me. If we look back over in Leviticus 26, there's always kind of a reprise in it. There's not like a finality. Like it's giving you the blessings, it's giving you the curses. But if you turn back to me, then everything will be all good again. Right? So when we look at this kind of from a prophetic standpoint, comparing Leviticus 26 and Deuteronomy 28, we think about the fact that we had the Babylonian captivity that happened, where it was a terrible captivity that lasted, the time that it lasted, but Israel came back from that. Right. So they did what they did in order to be put into that captivity, but they was able to return from it. But when we look at Deuteronomy 28, the message that it sends is a longer lasting kind of a thing, right? So when we get to scriptures like how it talks about in Ezekiel 16, the state of Israel being this harlot, right, where it's doing this abominable things, which kind of makes it kind of impossible for the Most High to join himself back to this people. He still wants to, but something got to be done in order for that thing to be reconciled.
Right.
So when you look at the state of Israel, when it gets to the prophets and them being in this state of just gross iniquity, we know that the Most High still wants to be with his people, but they're kind of pretty far gone to the point where something needs to happen in order for that to be the case.
Right.
When we look at Deuteronomy 28, it is kind of a reap what you sow kind of thing. If you do good, he's going to bless you. If you do bad, he's going to curse you. But at the same time, it's also a prophetic thing where we can see that this did happen. These things did happen. And we're in the middle of these things going on right now. But what I wanted to bring attention to is the fact that, again, you could look back at Leviticus chapter 26, on your own and see the differences where there is a reprise from it. There's a comeback. But when we're going to see over and over again this kind of tone that we see that's in back in Deuteronomy 28, verse 20, of this thing that is going on is going to be done until you are destroyed, until you perish quickly. And another thing we could think about is Ezekiel 37, where it talks about the valley of the dry bones.
Right.
We know that valley of dry bones is Israel.
Right.
We know that valley of dry bones is Israel, but in the story, it's dealing with when the prophet comes to this valley of dry bones, is not a people. It's a valley of dry bones. It's this thing with this the remnants of what used to be a people dead and destroyed. And it takes that spirit to be poured out on them. And let's just look at that real quick, because that connects that really connects with the finality of what we see with Deuteronomy 28. So let's look at that real quick. I'm gonna pull it up. Over here. Ezekiel is right here.
What verse is that? I mean, chapter
37.
Chapter what?
37. Okay, so let's look at this, because I'm saying that as a result of disobedience and what we see in Deuteronomy 28 in terms of the finality of the state of the people and where they are in terms of being destroyed, I'm saying that this Ezekiel 37 is a representation of what happened as a result of disobedience. Okay, so start reading there in verse 1.
Right. The hand of Yah was upon me and took me out by the spirit of Yah and set me down in the midst of the valley, and it was filled with bones. And he made me pass among them all around, and see that there were many on the surface of the valley, and see, they were very dry. And he said to me, Son of man, would these bones live? And I said, Oh, Master Yah, you know. Again, he said to me, prophesy to these bones, and you shall say to them, O dry bones, hear the word of Yah. Thus says the Master Yah to these bones, see, I am bringing into you a spirit, and you shall live. And I shall put sores on you, and bring flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put a spirit in you, and you shall live. and you shall know that I am Yah. And I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I prophesied, there was a noise and there was a rattling. And the bones came together, bone to bone. And I looked and saw sinews and flesh come upon them, and skin covered them, but there was no spirit in them. He then said to me, prophesy to the spirit. Prophesy, son of man, and you shall say to the spirit, thus says the Master Yah, come from the four winds, O spirit, and breathe on these killed ones, so that they live. And I prophesied as he commanded me, and the spirits came into them, and they lived, and stood upon their feet, a very great army. And he said to me, son of man, these bones are all the house of Israel. See, they say, our bones are dry, our expectancy has perished, and we ourselves have been cut off. Therefore prophesy, and you shall say to them, thus says the Master Yah, see, O my people, I am opening your burial sites, and shall bring you up from your burial sites, and shall bring you into the land of Israel. And you shall know that I am Yah when I open your burial sites, my people, and bring you up from your burial sites. And I shall put my spirit in you, and you shall live, and I shall settle you in your own land. And you shall know that I, Yah, have spoken, and I have done it, declares Yah.
Okay, so when we look at this, right, we see the state of Israel. Israel is in a state of destruction. We don't even know that that is Israel. He don't say that, there's a people over there, and that's my people, and go and speak to them. He refers to them as bones. Right? They're just some dry bones in this valley that need to be restored. He speaks to them one time, and then they come together, but they're together, but they're dead still.
Yeah, no spirit.
There's no spirit in them. So they're together as a result of the spirit being poured out, but they're still dead, right?
Right.
And then he speaks to them again, and then now they're filled with the spirit, and now he says, this is the whole house of Israel that was cut off, that was destroyed. Right? So we went there just to say we can see how that happened, right? From the disobedience of Israel, and the plagues and the curses that was going to come on them, which was going to destroy them, and which was going to cause them to perish.
Right.
All right, so I'm gonna go back over here. Deuteronomy.
We go back.
So again, when we go through these verses here, it goes over and above what the blessings were, with great severity, and we see how, and we'll see this, just like I said in verse 20, where it deals with this idea of being destroyed. It's going to go over that over and over again, different levels, right? Okay, so let's look at some of these things, right? Verse 20 talks about the fact that Yahweh sends on you the curse. The curse. Oh, we didn't look at curse. Let's see. Curse is, let's see what this word is, curse. Because we see this a couple different ways. Curse is translated different ways here. Let's go back to this other version. That's what that one is there. Hold on, I hit the wrong button. I need to go to this. Yeah. Okay, so that word is curse. Hold on, hold on. Sometimes it's giving you these words and you don't even know what that even means. me pull that up real quick. Let's see, 20 curses. That word execration. Execration, the act of cursing, a curse pronounced, utter detestation expressed. That's what that word means. So the Most High shall send upon thee utter detestation on you. Right? Not only that, but vexation, which is another word, mehuma, confusion, destruction, discomfiture, trouble, tumult, vexation, vexed. So again, think about all of these things, right? And think about, and so, you know, when we think about Israel and the fact that, you know, coupling this with Ezekiel 37 in terms of the people being destroyed, there being a time when this people has got to this unrecognizable place. Right? Israel was destroyed to a place where you wasn't able to even know that it was Israel anymore. Right? But one way that we are able to know is to be able to see a people that all of these things can be applied to. Right? We're able to look throughout history and throughout the world and see. I may not be able to tell you all of the people that this fits into, but there is a people that I can look at that I know of that these things pertain to, right? I can see who they don't pertain to, right?
Not just some of the things, all of them.
Right. When we going through these things, you know, these, you know, I mean, let's just make it plain. When you think about the state of this people in this place where we live at that look like you and I, you know, we're in this as a whole now. That's what we're talking about, the whole people, not individuals. You know, we got success stories, right, all over the place. But as a people, it is bleak, right? We at the bottom, right? And you know, you look at these things, this being in this state of detestability, right? Being in this state of vexation, which we said was confusion, right? Just in a state of just confusion. You don't really know what's going on. When you sit up there and look at the state of our people, it's easy to look at these people and say that is a confused people.
Yeah, I mean, if you just think about like on different levels, like for one, if you think about just growing up and you just couldn't understand why all of these bad things was happening to the people, your people, you know what I mean? Just like trying to understand it. You were confused about, man, why is it going now? Look at the males, the females,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's real confusing.
Very.
Then now you look at the people themselves and you're like, man, the sagging pants, all of the just different things that we do. Is just like
bad is good.
Yeah, it's just.
I mean, some of these things we could look at, and then it has become kind of a cultural thing where it kind of spills out into everybody. But at the same time, when you look at a nation of people where it's almost as if there is like so say for instance, if I am feuding with the people across the street and there happen to be other people over there,
Right.
and I just take a grenade and throw it over there, I don't really care who else I want them, but it's gonna be some residual effects.
Right.
There's things that's directed towards us it's going to be residual effects where other people going to be affected. So we could look and say, like, say for instance, when you look today, just talk about just poverty, right? When we look in the inner city, you know, I don't remember where I saw this from. It was a map of the different groups of people of our area, right? And they had it color coded, and where the black people was basically in the city limits.
City limits, right?
It was also, by the way, where poverty was, right, in the city limits, right? And then you have all the outer areas where, you know, black people really wasn't at, and where the, you know, the quote unquote nicer places were. So is that to say that there's no other races in the city? No.
Right. Yeah.
You know, we can look and see where, you know, there's white people that grow up right over with us, and they live in the same way we live in.
Right.
But when looking at this again, it's dealing with a whole nation of people as a whole. The majority of the people that you look at, for whatever reason, the whole of the people, this is our reality. This is the reality that we look at when everything around us is confusion, right? We're in this state of being, you know, just totally separated from the Most High, on every level. A people that is utterly destroyed, right? Destroyed and perished, right? This word destroyed here, let's look at this, because Shamad, it literally means to destroy, to bring to naught, overthrow, perish, pluck down, right? So we got that, and we got abad. I think this is, yeah, abad, to wander away, right? Just to wander away, just lost, right? So again, this is where the state of Israel, as a result of disobedience, right? Because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. So another thing we have to remember is that we can look at the switch and get mad at the switch because daddy handing out beatings, right? Because the switch is just the switch. Daddy the one giving out the beatings, right? So what we do is we look at what we can see, right? And we look at what we could maybe get our hand in the way of that belt swinging, right? And get mad at the belt. We get mad at the people who execute the wrath of the Most High.
The nations are just the belt.
The nations ain't nothing but the belt. Right? At the end of the day, it's because of our own wickedness, turning away from the Almighty. And you know, we look at how this thing has been kind of measured out to us, and we mad at them.
Yeah.
We got to be mad at them, at the Most High, and we could be mad at both of them, and we still ain't even got back to the real reason is our own people.
Right.
Okay, so let's keep on going down here through this. Where do we what verse do we read down to?
You read 20.
20.
21.
All right, let's look at okay, so 21 says Yahweh shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee until he have consumed thee from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. Right. So again, we think back to the blessing. We had this thing happening where the blessing was pursuing you and it was overtaking you. But now, as a result of these curses, as a result of disobedience, all of these other things, right? These curses now are doing the same thing, right? These pestilences are cleaving. This land that you was going to go into, and this land that was going to be flowing with milk and honey, right? Now the opposite thing is going on, right? Where you was able to go and you know, whatever you planted in the ground was going to grow up and was going to be plenteous. But now, you know, there's pestilence, right? And the land is being consumed.
Right.
The opposite is happening. I want to look at let's look at verse 20, read 25. Read 25, because when we look at these other verses, not to skip over, but when you look at, like, that was 21, 22, and 23 is really dealing with the land and how the land now, instead of being this place that is for you, is against you. Right? 23, if and thy heaven that is over thy head shall be as brass, and the earth that is under you is like iron. Right? Instead of the heavens being something that's pouring out water and life and rain, right? It's brass, it's hardness and nothing, right? And so as a result of no rain, now your ground is iron. You can't even till the ground because it's hard as iron, right? So these verses here is dealing with the land and things and how the land even is just coming against you, right? And again, 24, Yahweh shall make the rain of the land powder and dust from heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed. Right? Again, we gonna keep on seeing this word being used in terms of destruction of the people. And again, remember, when we think back to Ezekiel 37, the dry bones, that's what happened to Israel. Israel was literally destroyed and cut off, right? So let's read 25 down through 29. Hold on, let me go to this other version here. 25, and I'll stop you. Let's start reading at 25.
Yah causes you to be defeated before your enemies. You go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them. And you shall become a horror to all the rings of the earth. And your carcasses shall be food for all the birds of the heavens and the beasts of the earth, with no one to frighten them away. Yah shall strike you with the boils of Mistrim, Egypt, with tumors, with scabs, and with the itch, from which you are unable to be healed. Yah shall strike you with madness and blindness and bewilderment of heart, and you shall be groping at noon, as a blind man gropes in darkness, and not prosper in your ways. And you shall be only oppressed and plundered all the days, with no one to save you.
Okay, so all of these things are going to happen, right? But nobody's going to save you from this. There's no one to save you from this. It don't matter what you do, right?
Martin Luther King?
Yeah.
He ain't save us?
No.
Malcolm X, he ain't save us?
No, I said no one,
Garvey?
no one to save you. They had some good ideas,
great ideas,
but we never really seen like those things really carried out. but there's a reason why. Because he's saying right here, no one will save you. Right? All of these things are going to come upon you as a people. Now, again, as a people, again, you know, people are able to turn to the Father and receive his blessings. Right? If you turn from sin and turn to the Father, the result of that is blessings. Right? But we're talking about on a level we're dealing with the whole people. Right? That he's actually destroying as a result of the disobedience. So we see again 25 was something that dealt with kind of the reversal of what we saw with the blessing in terms of, you know, before the one came against us and fled 7 ways, but now we're the one. Right? We running all over the place. Your carcasses shall be as food for the birds of the heavens and the beasts of the earth, with no one to frighten them away. Think about like, well, first of all, you're talking about carcasses in the first place. Somebody, you got to be killed in the first place. When you think about like these kind of like a deer or something in the world, kind of like there might be a lot of them, but they have no defense to these other animals, like the lions and the these fierce animals. They're not able to defend themselves against these other beasts, right? So they get into the position, first of all, to even become these carcasses, right? To become now prey. And there's no, and so you're not only brought to a place kind of defenselessness, but then it goes over and above. So you're not even just slaughtered by these beasts that are around you, but your carcass is not even safe.
The vultures.
Yeah, the vultures coming in and just eating you.
Pick the rest up.
So again, we look at this, it's kind of like this thing that just extends and it just keeps on going, right? Now we could look at these different things when we talk about like these different diseases and things. Like think about like why is like, you know, in our amongst our people like diabetes and high blood pressures and all these different kind of things that is connected with. Now we could point it back to you know, diet or what have you, but you know, either way, you know, it don't change the facts of the matter. If we even take it back to the diet is also something that happened as a result of this position that we was put in. So it don't really matter that we can sit up here and see where these things originate from. It's just like these things are just being compounded on top of each other. And we're seeing them, you know, just manifest in different ways.
Destruction on all levels.
Yeah. 28, you look at 28 and it deals with, you know, this mental madness, like mental illness, right? And we don't, and this is something we don't even really think about, right? Kind of in you know, with our people with mental illness. But this is, you know, it's a huge thing, right? That we don't address. We probably grew up with a whole bunch of people that you know could have went to the hospital and found out that they was really like
been diagnosed.
Diagnosed.
I was talking about that yesterday. You know, Teresa Lee died recently.
Yeah,
she was in a mental institution, and she like got out of her bed at night and was raiding the refrigerator, and then the security came, and you know, and he was like trying to stop her while she was like shoving her throat, and then the food got lodged in her throat.
For real.
Yeah, and She died.
Yeah. So it's terrible. But you see that again, that's somebody who, was goes through the process. But you see a lot of these people out here, and you wonder why you see these people out here doing these things, appearing to be in this state of confusion, where there's really some madness attached to these things, right? There's some real mental illness attached to this, right? And that's connected with the blindness and the bewilderment of heart, right? When you think about and so 28 and 29 kind of go together in terms of this idea of groping at noon as blind man gropes in darkness, this lostness. You don't have a grip on things, right? Not being able to prosper in your ways. Now, again, you could talk about all the things that seemingly you could look at and point to why that is. If you want to talk about institutional things that's against a particular people or what have you, that don't change the facts of the matter is that that's what the reality of the thing is, right? So when we look at these things, and we see all of these things against a particular people, this oppression, right? And again, verse 29, with no one to save you. Right? So it don't matter that throughout our recent history that we've had these so-called champions to come and to bring some light and some potential ease to some of these things. Really, I think it just caused things to change, not as if they're necessarily they're definitely not the way that they should be. Things are different, but you have it on different levels now, right?
It used to be out in the open.
Yeah, now it's just kind of it's covert. So you still can look and see a particular people where this looks just like our people. We're just at the bottom, not able to make our way out, and nobody's able to come along and show us the way out.
Oh, the last savior was Obama. That was the latest savior.
Yeah. Which again, we just put him on a list, right? There's no one to save you. Verse 30, you become engaged to a wife, but another man does lie with her. You build a house, but do not dwell in it. You plant a vineyard, but do not use its fruit. Let's see. Read down 30. Let's see, 31 and 32 and 33. Read those two, because these all go together.
Slaughtered before your eyes, but you do not eat of it. Your donkey is violently taken from you before you, and it is not given back to you. Your sheep are given to your enemies, with no one to save them.
No one to save them.
Your sons and your daughters are given to other people, and your eyes look and fail for them all day long, and your hands powerless. Ooh, that's a deep one. A people whom you have not known, eat the fruit of your land and all your labors, and you shall be only oppressed and cursed all the days.
Okay, so when you look at this, when you look at from 30 down to 33, it's dealing with really look at the powerlessness of the man.
Mm-hmm.
The man, our men have been rendered powerless. No thing that we are supposed to be doing or seek to do is able to prosper, right? All the way down from trying to build our house, where we engage to I mean, you could look at this back to times whenever they was literally splitting us up and taking our women in front of us, where it was literally happening,
right?
Or you could look at it in the kind of the time where we live at, where we're so undesirable to our own women.
Right.
We've been made so undesirable because of the state that we're in,
right?
That they taken the oppressors are taking the women that we would have taken to be our wives.
Right. They're taking them from us.
I see the oppressors with all the cute women today.
Yeah. And they masculinize them. Yeah. That's the thing right there.
Right. So that's so that's what we're talking about here in terms of, you look at these things, and these are things that the man would carry out in terms of building his house, planting his vineyard, having these animals, but all of these things that he would be doing, all of those things being taken away, right? We have become powerless in regards to the things that's around us and the things that we're supposed to actually have control over, right? That's been stripped away from us. Okay, anybody have any thoughts about these verses here?
Because the one verse about taking the sons and daughters, 32, your sons and daughters are given to other people. Your eyes look and fail for them all day long, and your hand powerless. That, I look at that today, and how the oppressor orchestrated CYF, a lot of those type of programs is geared towards, under the disguise of the welfare of the child. But yet when you as a parent chastise your child a correct way according to scripture, and your oppressors do not like it, they seek those ways and those laws they created to take your sons and daughters from you. And you have no power to get them back.
There's nothing. You can't do nothing about it.
I look at that as a part of the curse as well. Not saying that some children need to be reconnected with other families and shown the right way, but not to the hands of your oppressors.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing about it is that when you think about your powerlessness and how far it reaches, it is really frightful. At any moment, somebody could come in here. Some people could come into this place right here and take my kids out of here, and there ain't nothing but die to do about it. There's nothing I could do but die to stop them from doing it. You got no control over your own, right or wrong. I mean, yeah, you could definitely look and see where those things need to happen. But at the same time, excuse me, you're powerless over your own family. If somebody on the outside determines that there's something that they determined to be whatever
unsatisfactory to them,
on their standards, they could just come in here and just do whatever they want.
Another way they take your children is by sending them to school. You done built your son or your daughter up and instructed them in the wisdom that you have. You send them off to school, whether it be, whatever level, man, especially at college.
University levels.
Philosophy majors and I don't believe that. I don't believe none of that no more. They done took your son or your daughter from you, and
Yeah.
now,
reprogram.
yep.
Yeah, we'll see some verses that kind of touch it out, but I think it also applies here. It's the same kind of a thing as where the society is so much against the things of the Most High,
Yeah.
and it's so contrary to His ways. You know, I feel like at this place where I am today, I will feel like I would be abusing my kids to send them back into the school system. I literally feel like I would be just grossly neglecting.
Oh, y'all do homeschool?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I would be grossly neglecting my job as a parent to send. I don't know what school I would send them to, where you would almost have to kind of like deprogram them every day after school, you know, thing by thing. Okay, so what'd you do in this? That'd be too much work. You know what I mean? Okay, so what exactly was they talking to you about at school today?
Right.
And your friends and stuff, what was they saying too? Like, I mean, I think about my days as being a teenager, and kind of that kind of dual life that I lived as a teenager, where I come home and my mom knew what I was doing, you know, at home or whatever. But then I had this other life outside of that, school included, where you know, you're living this other life that goes contrary to all the things that you're shown and grown up to be doing at your home, and is worse, I would say, now with all of this gayness and mixture and
they teach the gender.
That's crazy.
Like, gender.
Well, like,
neutrality.
even your cousins called your aunt and your uncle up because and it was up at Carrick High School. They had the is it the ACLU? Is that the people that are you know, for everyone? They're for everyone, right?
I'm not sure.
I think they're for everyone. No matter what you are, they're for you. Like if you're black, if you're Hispanic, if you're Mexican, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're gay, if you're not, you know what I mean? They're for everybody. They want everybody to feel comfortable. But anyway, they had a assembly at the school, at the high school. And there was somebody there who said, if you feel like, you know, you have these homosexual tendencies, speak to one of our counselors. But it was kind of like they was subverting the parents because they don't want to go through the parents. Because a parent of a child might be like,
That's not right.
that's not what you're going to be. You're not going to do that.
Right,
so they was
right,
like,
right.
you know, speak to one of our counselors. And so
rendering
they
you
texted
powerless.
their aunt, uncle, whatever, and the aunt told them to leave and go to the office. But it was kind of like they were subverting the, you know. But that's why we need our own schools.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Because some people they don't have the means to do the homeschooling or whatever. So we need our own schools so that we don't have that problem.
Well, that's the thing. Is
People
like,
can
you
send their
build your
kids.
own school. They ain't gonna come into your school.
That is.
If
they gonna be like,
need any funding at all.
Yeah.
I mean, there's ways to get around it. You know what I mean? There's ways to get around those things. But
you don't need any of their funding.
I feel like people
anything.
need to think about these things, because when we look at and again, we can talk about solutions, because we look right here. This is dealing with the nation as a whole. Not to say that this can't be reversed in individuals or even in communities. But again, we look back at comparing this back to Ezekiel 37, when the new covenant is fully manifest and Messiah returns, and all of the nation is restored.
Yes.
And we're taken back to the land. That's when the whole nation will be restored. But in terms of individuals and in terms of families and communities, these things can be reversed, right?
But Tony, I wanted to say about the whole teaching thing about the sons and daughters
Yeah.
giving over to other people is that the way things are set up is that you need 2 incomes in order to survive if you're a normal person.
Yeah.
Right.
So how you can't really even take your kids almost out of the school systems,
Yeah.
Right.
because you need the 2 incomes to survive.
Yeah. It's hard.
And then the way they set it up is that the women make more money than the men.
Mm-hmm.
So if the woman stays home,
Right.
That's a whole nother curse.
that's a curse, right? And
Yeah.
so then what happens if the woman stays home? Then you really are in trouble because you don't have that much money.
Income, right.
Because you
Yeah.
lost the higher income
Yeah.
of the 2.
I think that it's easy for us to kind of get and remain comfortable in our powerlessness and look at these things as if there's some unattainable thing. But these things are we're able to overcome these things. Again, the Most High said, if you will keep my commandments, right?
That's right.
Blessings will overtake you.
That was a prompt.
You just on the reverse end. You start moving towards the Almighty and you start walking in his ways and doing the things that he likes. Blessings is going to overtake you. These doors is going to open up and provide a way for you to be able to. What sense do it make to say that I'm living for the Most High, but I'm forced to offer my children up into Molech? Those things are incongruent with one another, right? If we are able to actually put the thought into it, we're able to go and do the things, because the reason why we're not able to succeed is because we not following after the Most High.
Yeah, that's true. Switch to follow. It's not power. The other thing is, looking at the sons and the daughters, is there's all the systems really. You just talked about the education system, but the medical system that's diagnosing the kids with ADHD left and right, and then putting them on these medications.
Crazy.
It's putting stereotypes on them. You know what I mean? Like, my son can't play with toy guns.
You're right.
Because I don't want him to go out in the streets with his toy gun and get shot
and get killed
because they think it's a real gun.
Right.
But meanwhile, the other children are able to have BB guns and be able to go hunting and learn how to really shoot a real gun.
Right.
And they don't have to worry about it.
Right.
But it's kind of like my son can't even have when Moshe can't have a toy gun because I don't want him to grow up feeling a certain kind of way about his little toys and then go out in the streets. You know what I mean? It's really sad when you think about it, because all the systems, the medical system putting these vaccines in the kids, and there's proof that there's a correlation between some of those vaccines. I'm not going to say all of them, but at least some of those vaccines and some of the problems that's happening with the children. And it's like, you can't have a doctor. Our kids can't even have a doctor. I'm sitting here looking at doctors in Ohio.
Right.
If you don't want to get them vaccinated, you can't even have a doctor. No. I'm looking at a doctor that's 2 hours away that might take my kids. Because none of the pediatricians in Pittsburgh, our pediatrician dropped us. They used to just make us sign a waiver, but then they dropped us as patients. So I haven't been able to take them to the doctor. You can go to a family doctor, but I don't really want to go to a family doctor. Right. So I'm looking at doctors all the way in Ohio, 2 hours away, talking to Tony about it the other day, because you can't even take your kids to a pediatrician in Pittsburgh anymore. It's crazy. So it's kind of like they're taking away any kind of control you could possibly have over your kids.
That is true. I saw a video that blew me away because I didn't really knew this history about the implications of welfare. You know, their actual intentions in the beginning was to keep the Hebrew man out of his home, man.
Yeah.
You know, when I saw this, and this one woman was on a video explaining that, she was an older woman too, explaining the past, how when she was growing up, how the social worker was telling them that your husband have to leave the state in order for us to fund and assist you. So these women were actually trading in their husband for some government cheese.
Yeah.
You know, and I said, wow, these people actually hate us that much, man. They seek anything to separate us from a family structure, as they do today. They'll tell the women, in order for you to get assistance from me, you must depart from your man.
Or you can't marry.
Or you can't marry them.
Because
you know,
if you get married,
you penalize.
You're not going to get.
Yeah, you're not going to get that.
Well, so again,
they give you a car insurance now. I was like, you got a free car from the state?
Yeah,
and car insurance for a year?
Wow.
You know, I mean, like, what? They gave you a car and car insurance.
Right.
Just to get rid of your man.
And free child care. I'll never forget, I'm paying, how much we paid a week?
Oh no, it was up to 16,000 now 1 year, wasn't
It
it?
was actually 18.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
We paid $18,000 for daycare for 2 babies. For the first year, it was $18,000 we paid in daycare. But by the end, out of pocket, no.
Because you couldn't get assistance because Tony was in the home.
Because Tony's here. But if he wasn't here,
right.
So because we got 2 incomes, the thing is like $35,000. You got to make less than $35,000 in order to get any assistance for daycare. That's how it was, at least. Now it's probably higher. But I'm going in there. I'm writing my little check out for $500 something. We was paying $60 a day. A day
for childcare.
This was at the end. This was when the kids wasn't babies anymore. When it was babies, it was a lot more money. It was like more like $100 a day. But by the time we was finishing up, it was 56 something a day. Okay, that's how much we paid. 58 something a day, something like that a day. I'm writing my check out for a week of paying that. This other mom comes in and the daycare workers is getting on her case because she didn't pay her $20 copay for the month. I was looking at her like, all you got is pay $20 for the whole month and you can't pay that? Meanwhile, I'm sitting here writing this crazy check out.
Right.
It's $20 an hour for me. It's $20 a month for you. But I'm just saying that, like, the mentality then becomes, all right, so I can't make any more money because if I make more money, I'm going to have to pay more money out. I don't really want to go and get my education. I don't want to get anything because if I mess this up, as soon as I get over that little boundary, whatever, now I'm paying for rent. I'm paying for food. I'm paying for my car and my car insurance and I'm paying for everything. And then you don't have enough money to pay all that stuff.
Right. People I was trying to hire for jobs who told me, unless you can pay me under the table, I ain't working. I ain't messing up my government system.
Right.
I can't make no more money.
Right.
They said, if you pay me under the table, I could do it.
Right.
But I ain't messing up my government check.
Yeah.
Right. The saddest thing that I've discovered was I know there's one sister who's dating a Caucasian, you know, and they know about it. They don't even penalize her for that. That blew my mind right there.
Well, you can date somebody.
No, but I'm saying she's about to marry him and everything. But let that be a Hebrew brother, man. It's a different story. The system is designed to tear us apart, you know, at every angle. You know.
What I was gonna say is though, it goes back to, you know,
to the curses.
What Tom was saying, you can't look at the belt.
The curses.
You can't look at the belt. That's just the belt.
The curses, right. Curses.
Yeah. That's right. You can't look at the belt or the daddy because he beating you because you messed up in the first place.
Right.
So we got to always remember that because it's easy to look at the system that we're a part of and try to point the finger at all of these things that are against us. Yeah, they're against us, but they're against us because of our own disobedience, right? And if we're able to, and there's nothing that in our flesh that we're able to do. There's no man that we could look at to fix any of these things. The only way out is returning back to the Father.
Right, through Yeshua.
Everything
I
else,
feel
everything else is
like
just futile.
most of the people, like is looking towards the system to help fix the system.
Right, and that don't even make
And
any sense.
I remember talking to a teacher, and he was like talking about, I guess there's a place in what is that? Is that Northview Heights?
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, that was Northview Heights.
Yeah, he was talking about how he didn't understand where the kids was coming from. Now this guy, his mom is rich. He'd say it. She really is rich. They had a smart house. We went in there. I went to a birthday party at the house. I didn't know how to operate the kitchen cabinets. I was like, how do you open this cabinet up? I was like, where's the garbage can? I was totally lost. I never was in a house like that before. But he was talking, and he was like, I want to live in this place. And so anyway, when we went out, I showed him the sign that showed him how much money he had to have in order to live in the place. I was up in Frick Park or whatever. Up in that place, up in on that hill. When you go through the tunnels and you look up at the hill, that's where that was at, up in there.
Right.
So, but anyway, he could understand where the kids was coming from.
Right.
So he decided to go where they lived because he's a teacher at the school.
Right.
And he said he could not believe that it was like a compound. He called it a compound.
Right.
He was like, it must have been
nice.
Yeah, he was like the security guard. He was like, I couldn't believe the security guard was like asking me where I was going and who I was seeing.
Yeah, tell him where you going.
And he was like, it was like going into a prison or going into some other country or something. I had to have. He's like, I felt like I had to have a passport to get into the place. Right. So then he gets in there and he explains to the guy what he was doing, he gets in there and he's riding around and he's like, he could not believe this is where those kids was living at. And so I don't think people understand that you can't, he's trying to help them. He was like, I don't know how to help them. And I was like, you really can't. Like, what are you going to do? You can't help them. Like, so he was really thinking like using the system to help. But I was explaining to him that that's the way it's designed. Like the system is designed like that. You can't come in and feel like you're going to be a hero. I was like, it's a good thought, but you're not going to rescue these kids.
Not from the bottom. Yeah, you got to go up.
Yeah, he's at the bottom. He's just a teacher at Pittsburgh Public. You know what I mean?
How are we living in the smart house?
I told you, it's not him that's rich, it's his mom that's rich.
You know what? People be trying to come up with these solutions, right? I be hearing it all the time on Facebook, at work, everywhere. They come up with these solutions. Oh, we need unity. We need to build up our communities to get things back in order. We need to do this. We need to do that. I tell them straight up, man, prophecy must be fulfilled. I said, it tells you in the scriptures basically that each generation will be more wickeder than the last anyway. But like I always tell them that like in 2 Chronicles 7:14, there's a cure. He said, y'all says, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and will heal their land. But we got to understand, in order to do that, we must turn from our wicked ways, first of all, and seek his face. And we must seek his face through who? Yeshua. A lot of people do not accept Yeshua for who he really is, and that's where the big problem is.
Well, you have a whole group of people who, are claiming Yeshua, or they call him Jesus.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But then they say, oh, the law's done away with.
Yeah. Right, that's where they fall in error.
Right. So if which where the problem comes in is that if I'm saying that if I say that I follow after
Yeshua,
after Christ, and I'm living in a way that don't have nothing to do. Yeah, it's anti-Messiah. It don't have nothing to do with Christ, with the true Christ, with Messiah, with Yeshua. Then how am I following after him?
Right. You're not.
You're not. It's confusion, right? So that's the thing, is that it's hard. It's hard when we, it for people who are following after Messiah the way that the scripture calls for us to do it. People who refer to themselves as Israelites,
Right.
we're in the middle, right?
Right.
Where you have people, where you got these people that's Israelites, and they harping on these carnal things, where they feel like you are have been awoken because you realize that your nationality
Right.
saves you,
Right.
and it don't.
That's not true.
You could know what your physical heritage is and still be lost, right? Because that's not the answer. And then you got these other people in Christianity where they are saying that they're following after the biblical Messiah,
Right.
but yet and still it's a walk that don't look nothing like what Yeshua instituted when he walked on the earth.
Right. That's right.
So you're not really connected to him. You connected to this doctrine that was created based on it's like a movie. It's like a movie that was based on true events.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But it ain't like it's not what really happened.
Right.
It's just it's somebody's interpretation of using the names of the characters that was in the real story. But it's not the real story, though.
It's not. I spoke to a prominent pastor, I'm not going to say his name online, but out of East Liberty. And I had asked him a simple question. I asked him, when was the last time he did a sermon on Deuteronomy 28, letting his flock know who they really were and why they're in the condition they're in today? He said he don't get into that. I said, yet you say that you love your Jesus. But he told you, if you love me, you would keep my commandments. But you say they've done away with. Then you had the audacity to ask for tithes. If they were done away with, then why are you doing that?
Right, yeah.
So, obviously what I was saying was getting to him because he kept making excuses. So as he was leaving, I said, oh, by the way, Pastor, I said, you remember what y'all said when you call God? I said, if you're friends with the world, you're an enemy of his. I said, and definitely you are, because you hold on to rudiments of the world by embracing the traditions of men, celebrating these pagan holidays. I said, so do you really love him? Think about it.
Offering, free will offerings, all of that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Let's just drop down to 36 here.
Okay.
Let's drop down to 36. Just read that one verse 36.
Yah brings you and the sovereign whom you set over you to a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known. And there you shall serve other mighty ones, wood and stone.
See,
Can I read that, my translation?
Yeah,
what you say? Yeah. What you got, KJV?
Y'all shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto another nation, which neither you nor your fathers have known. And there thou shalt serve other gods, wood and stone.
Yeah. So when we think about this, right? And mentioning the people in mainstream Christianity, right? It's interesting that we have this kind of a situation where we're looking at the same book. I got the same. This is a King James version of the Bible right here, right?
Right.
This is my most prized possession, right? But we looking at the same book, but we coming away with this thing looking at it from a different perspective, right? Where these people have this God that they're following after that don't look like the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
That's right.
Right. And so that, to me, I feel like that this verse right here speaks to that. Like we could think about like Buddha and Allah and all of these other gods, right? But even when we look at the doctrines that people hold to, that read this same Bible, they're teaching these people these doctrines that's connected to a God that was formulated in their own minds. It's not from the Bible. It's this thing, these mighty ones of wood and stone that you done created.
That's right.
You done created these things.
Right.
Like how can I have a New Testament and the Old Testament, and the New Testament it don't go along with the so-called Old Testament. These things they have to go along together. If they don't go along together, then you're not looking at it right. You can't be. Right. So one has to be kind of this progression of the other. One has to be something that moves out from the other. And this thing that we have in mainstream Christianity is this thing that was made by the hands of man. Right. Just like if you had this wooden thing, right, made by hands, or this thing made out of stone that you set up here and shaped and carved and formed into what you would have for it to be.
Can I speak on that for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
You know what? I'm glad you brought, praise y'all for you bringing that up, because I had posted something a while ago, back in January 7th, about this. Where Deuteronomy 48 in there show, yea, serve gods, the work of man's hands, wood and stone, which neither see nor hear nor eat nor smell. And it goes to Deuteronomy 28:64. And y'all shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth unto the other end, and there shalt serve other gods which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, which complements what we just read. Have known, even wood and stone. So then I go to Isaiah and read the 45th chapter 20. It says, assemble yourselves and come, draw near together, ye that are escaped of the nations. They have no knowledge that set up the wood of their graven image and pray unto a God that cannot save them. Then I had a vision of a wooden cross. One of the Christianity's most powerful symbols is a cross, and a wooden cross. And it hit me as a representation of the wood. But guess what else hit me, brother? So I asked the question. Y'all does not lie. Now, what is the stone? Of course, I knew the answer, but I waited. But I was so shocked when a brother, I ain't gonna mention his name, he presented me with a meme. And I looked at the meme and immediately thought of Leviticus 26:1.
A meme?
Yeah, it showed Islam. They was bowing down towards the Kaaba stone. Everybody was facing the Kaaba stone in a circle. And Leviticus 26:1 hit me hard. It says, yea, shall make you no idols nor graven images, neither rear you up a standing image, neither shall ye set up any image of stone in your land to bow down unto it. For I am Yah the Elohim. So I said that Israelites, these things were never for us. Never. Yah is against it. Why would he change his mind and create a whole nother book and not give it to one of his own chosen children of an Israelite, but yet an Arab? I said, that's something to think about, because y'all said that in Malachi 3:6, for I am Yah the Elohim, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob, Israelites, who are us, are not consumed. And I said, I'm sorry, it just doesn't add up at all. It doesn't. Why would he create a whole nother book under a whole nother language and give it to a whole nother nationality, but mention us all up in it as being his chosen? It doesn't make sense at all. So it goes back to what you said, Tone, in Deuteronomy, that we will be made to worship and serve other gods, other mighty ones, wood and stone. And that's exactly what happened. Shalom.
All right, let's keep on going down here. Let's see here. Where we at? We at 37 here. I feel like we could just look at every one of these verses and be able to look at how this connects to who we are, right? But again, at the end of the day, when we look at this again, the main thing we want to deal with is the fact that these things were put on us because of our disobedience, and the necessity for us to be able to look towards Messiah, who is the only one. Again, when we look back at Ezekiel 37, the only way out was having that Ruach HaKodesh inside of you. The only way that those dry bones was able to even become anything recognizable was that spirit. And then once they even just had that spirit working on them, they still needed the spirit to be in them. It took the spirit for them to get skin on them and bone, skin and flesh and muscle and tendons and all that stuff. It took the spirit to do that, but still they was dead bodies still. They still needed that ruach, that spirit inside of them to be able to be recognizable again, to know that they actually was the whole time Israel. And so we had to be able to remember, because when we look in Deuteronomy 28, it's going to keep on telling us that nobody's able to save us. Nobody's able to rescue us from this thing that we've been put into. If we look at, let's see, 47, because you did not serve Yahweh your Elohim with joy and gladness of heart for all the plenty, you shall serve your enemies who Yahweh sends against you in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in need of all. And he, your enemy, shall put a yoke of iron on your neck until he destroys you. Again, the being destroyed. Yahweh shall bring a nation against you from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies, a nation whose language you shall not understand. A fierce-looking nation which shall show no regard for the elderly, nor show favor to the young. And they shall eat the fruit of your livestock and the fruit of your land until you are destroyed. They leave no grain, nor new wine, nor oil, nor increase of your cattle or offspring or your flocks until they have destroyed you. It keeps on saying it. Right? So again, when I look at this, the disobedience that Israel exhibited towards the Almighty puts Israel in a state of being destroyed, unrecognizable, no longer a nation for sure. And the only thing that brings that back, man can't do it. Right. So when we look at people bring up what happened with the state of Israel, right? And I'm not able to accept that on the strength that was a political thing that put them over there. Men did that. So if this is saying that this is not be able to be rectified by men, no man is able to save you, how can I look at something that was created by man and think that that's the work of the Most High? It can't be. So I'm saying not based on anything other than the fact that the Most High said that nobody's able to save you. Obedience is a thing that's going to bring you back to me. And that people is as a nation is not a nation that's obedient unto the Most High. How am I able to look at those people and say that that's his people? I'm not able to do it. I'm saying just on the strength of how they even got there. Right. Not even going into anything else other than that. It's the fact that when I look at this, Deuteronomy 28, and it's going through all these curses, when I look at the people that are being perpetuated as the nation of Israel, and as a nation as a whole, these people is on top giving out, they handing out the money. They the ones doing the lending. But the Most High said that when we put all of this stuff together in terms of the new covenant being realized, is realized by his doing, and by his doing is how his people gets back in the land. By his spirit being poured out on his people is how they get back in the land. So that means that's some obedient people. And we know that this obedience now is through Messiah. So if that nation is not a nation that's following after Messiah, how's it his nation? It can't be. It just can't even be. Not even going into any of the origins of the people or any of that. You don't even got to go that far. You know, those things are there to add to the list. But all you need is the fact that this right here, as a result of these curses that was put on his people, the only way you end up back in the land is through the spirit moving and through obedience to the Most High, the way he say is done. And the only way that could be done is through Yeshua. And those people hate Yeshua. Right? So I'm saying just on the strength of that, they can't be the people. Right? There's other things that could be said, but it's just kind of extra.
Yeah, you ain't going back in the land without Yeshua.
No, you can't.
You can't.
Because you're not even a people. You're just a valley of dry bones. Right. Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead. We're going to drop down some. I wanted to look at, let's see, before we be done here with this. Oh, this was an interesting one here. 54. Oh, this one goes back to we was talking about school and stuff. Read, Chris, can you read 54 to 57?
So that a man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, and toward his wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which shall leave. I'll read on there. Against giving any of them the flesh of his children that he eats, because it is all that has been left to him in the siege and distress, which your enemy distresses you in all your gates. The tender and delicate,
Yeah.
The tender and delicate woman among you who has not tried to set the sole of her foot on the ground because of her delicateness and tenderness, her eye is evil against the husband of her bosom. I feel that. And against her son and against her daughter.
And 57 too.
And against her seed which come out from between her feet. And the children and her children whom she bears, for she eats them in secret for lack of all, in the siege and distress which your enemy distresses you in all your gates.
Okay, so when we look at this, is giving you this picture of the fact that the fright and the dismay of that's created by the enemy will bring both the man and a woman to such an unnatural place that the first thing and the last thing that you're supposed to be protecting, you destroy for your own personal survival.
Mm-hmm.
We're so turned around that we, for our own, in our own confused mind, we are seeking these personal benefits that end up hurting the generations behind us. And instead of breaking this cycle that we're in, we just continue it. So you could look at it from a literal standpoint, where the people literally got to a place where they was literally eating their babies.
70 AD.
Or, thinking about how we are, what would it take for you to get to a place where you're going to eat your own children? Like, what's going on in your mind that's causing you to do that? well, just on the surface of it, you're not thinking about the welfare of your child. You're thinking about your own well-being. You're thinking about what's good for your own personal self, not your child, who is your future, who you should be building up and causing your children to be able to doing things that's going to cause your children to be able to thrive and survive in the future. So when we was talking about the kids before, that's what we do. If we live in it, if we're living in a certain way, and we're building this foundation only for it to be kind of stopped because we're sending our children out to be taught by the enemy that's against us. We're working against ourselves, and there's no difference between these people literally eating their babies and looking at it now, it's basically the same thing, I would say.
Well, I have to tell you how they're doing it now, right? This is the way this is being done now. So you have mothers who are actually getting their kids diagnosed with all of these disorders in order to get the benefits of being paid for their son being diagnosed. What's the diagnosis?
Yes, the ADHD.
ADHD and all of that. Yeah. They're actually given
be like caretakers of their own.
They're giving the mothers additional money for their child being ADHD. So they're actually offering their children up to basically eat off of them. So they're getting them diagnosed. Oh, my child is ADHD.
And then they doping them up and everything.
Then they're on drugs. So basically they're eating from their children.
Really?
Yeah. So again, we look at this, when we look at all of these things again, there's no 61 verse 61. Also, every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this Torah does bring upon you until you are destroyed. Again, the idea of being destroyed is there. It goes down 63. It shall be that as Yahweh rejoiced over you to do good and increase you, so Yahweh does rejoice over you to destroy you and lay you waste, and you shall be plucked from off the land which you go to possess. 64. And you shall scatter, and Yahweh shall scatter you among all peoples from one end of the earth to the other, and you shall serve other mighty ones which neither you, that's what we talked about before, nor your fathers have known, wood and stone. It repeats it. Among those nations you are to find no rest, nor have a resting place for the sole of your feet. You won't be able to stand. But there Yahweh shall give you a trembling heart and failing eyes and sorrow of being. It just goes on and on, all these things against us. So, people get down to this 68 and want to just deal with 68, but we could go through the whole chapter. And this whole chapter is something that's giving you a description of you. The whole thing, right? We don't gotta just look at 68 where it says Yahweh shall bring you to Mizraim in ships by a way in which I said you are never to see it again. And then you shall be sold to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one to buy you. Right? We don't gotta just look at this 2868 and say, oh, look, it says right there, and carried away in ships. That's us right there. Yeah, that is us. But at the same time, we can look at this whole chapter and be able to sit up here and look how at every step is dealing with the state of this people that is just utterly downtrodden, with no way out. So just lastly, just before we get ready to be done here, just say that when we look at this, The one thing that I want to always be able to be sure and deal with is the fact that, when it talks about the fact that no one to buy you, there's no one that's going to be able to redeem you from this state.
That goes back into being saved again from the situation, like somebody rising up to save you.
Yeah, there's no earthly movement that's going to come about, that's going to bring about your redemption. It's only going to come through faith in Yeshua.
Pan-African, Black Panthers,
none of it, none of that stuff.
None of the movement.
The only way is Messiah, and so that is the key to all of this. When I look at these Israelites and the main kind of thing that they're pushing is this carnality, this genealogy. Oh, I'm woke because I know who my daddy is, right? Messiah got to be at the forefront because it don't matter. It don't matter who your daddy is. That can't save you, right? We need to be connected to Messiah, and that's the only way out. Because again, we look back at Ezekiel 37, Israel can't be restored to even being alive without that spirit. And the only way we know we get that spirit is through faith in Messiah, through faith in Yeshua, right? It don't come through understanding your physical lineage. It don't come from that. If that was the case, I was gonna say like Nation of Islam told you that you could be somebody and don't have to be who the white man tell you to be. If it was only just about some type of mental understanding of something, there's many people that came around with some philosophies for you to.
Was knowledge of self.
Yeah, knowledge of self.
Yeah.
Right. So what's the difference? It's the same thing. We still talking about knowledge of self. Don't you know that you're an Israelite? But what about the fact that you need to be connected to Messiah?
Right.
Me knowing that I'm Israel only tells me that I need to be connected to Messiah. Right. That I really need to be connected to Messiah. That's the only thing it tells me. Right. But it tells everybody that everybody needs to be connected to Messiah. That's the only way that we can be connected to the Almighty. So again, looking at this Deuteronomy 28, yes, we could look and recognize ourselves in that. But once we do that, we have to realize more so that we need to look towards the only one who's able to restore us from this state of destruction that we put ourselves in because of our disobedience, and that is Yeshua HaMashiach.
Yep.
Okay, so does anybody have any parting thoughts or comments about any of that?
Well, I'd just like to say that absolutely, about Yeshua. Not about heritage and all of that. That's the second part. You know what I mean? Like after you find out who you are, the first thing is Yeshua. You know what I'm saying? Building that bridging that gap. That guess you're cut off. Now it's time to get cut back on, and then you start walking after him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's why Yeshua, after he always helped people, he would tell them to, sin no more, unless a greater thing come back on you. So you can accept Yeshua and then keep sinning, and then you still go and get these curses.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so, there's an order, and I think just people are just messing up on the order,
right. Right, but it makes sense though. It makes sense that they doing that because the people as a whole is in a state of confusion.
Right.
They jumping on this thing that supposedly is our salvation, but it's not. It's not our salvation. Our salvation is Messiah. that's where we find our salvation at, is in Messiah. Unless he is our foundation, all this other stuff is yeah. Okay, so for now we're gonna go ahead and be done with this here, and yeah, willing, we will be back. Oh well, next week we won't be back. Just will have her woman's thing going on, and I'll be going to the penitentiary. So
Before you going right down Western?
No, they close on Western. I go up to out. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop this now. Shalom.